Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Hammer of Heretics live stream. I'm Hammer of Heretics, and I have another excellent guest today, and it's the Counterdox. Welcome, brother.
Hey, thanks for inviting me.
No, thanks for coming. I wanted to give you the opportunity to kind of tell the audience a little bit about yourself, about your faith journey, and just so everyone can get a better idea of your channel too, which is really awesome.
So I am Eastern Orthodox. I've been an atheist all my life. Converted 3 years ago. Part of the reason why I converted to Christianity in the beginning was because of college, and I grew up in small town Southern California, and a lot of the stuff that they do in the cities I was not very familiar with until I moved to the cities in Boston. And once you move there, it's like the most unhinged people. And soon what hits you is that if you're not, this mentality that if you're not with us, you're against us, right? So, and you get a glimpse of it in higher academics, but it really reflects on like how politics are in society, right? It's like the Republican Democrat is the same thing. If you're not with me, you're against me, and we're going to make it. We're going to ally with the elites to make it that there's absolutely no room for any third option, right? So I see that in society, and it's like all these garbage being forced down my throat. I joined Turning Point USA for a while. And very soon, so I ran the chapter at my college, but it was technically under another college because there's barely anyone in my college. I went to Berklee College of Music, so you can imagine how many conservatives you can pull out of there, which is pretty much a unicorn every time you find one. But yes, I was in there for a little bit, and then you set this broader idea of evangelical Christianity. And now the first argument that kind of convinced me, which now I look back, it's very, very dumb, is that, well, you see the West is successful, then Christianity must be true. So that's just false correlation at this point. So with that premise, I was looking into evangelical Christianity, but it's just like, growing up a huge rationalist and an atheist, that stuff is not, you can't convince me with that stuff, right? You can't just tell me, oh, well, here, this is a book and God wrote it. And
right.
Well, I mean, no, first of all, and why do I have to follow this book? I don't understand that. Mm-hmm. Nobody can tell me. It's like, trust me, bros, like Mormons, right? So yeah, and then what's interesting? Like, the first thing that got me into this was actually Mormonism, because my last year of high school, I rented a room with a Mormon family, very, very kind family, and took care of me, and they invited me to church, and that's kind of when I, start to look into the broader term Christianity. I know you and I we won't consider Mormons Christians. Obviously, the belief there is just really unhinged. But it's still with that, it's like, okay, well, you have no principle to tell me any of these things, right? The Jews were, Native Americans are darkened Jews, which is totally dumb.
Right.
Even if you're an atheist, you accept the evolutionist framework. We have mass DNA proof that the Native Americans, Mexicans, Native Americans have nothing to do with Jews. In fact, they're genetically similar to Asians. So that's ridiculous. And then they own the hill for where all their crazy battles happen with all the horses and metal shields. And
Hill Cumorah, yeah.
Yeah, no, that like imagine like they had metal shields.
Yep.
And dig it up, dude. Dig it up. They won't dig it up.
And there were two battles there, not just one, because in the Book of Mormon there was a monster. Yeah, the ones that yep. The ones that came out submarines, and then the ones that came after. So it's
I'm like, dude, dig it up, dude. And then there's just inconsistent lies, because when I was inquiring into Mormonism with the family in 2017, 2018, the universal teaching that I got from all the Mormons, including the family, including the missionaries, including the church bishop, was that God the Father was a human. He indeed had other God the Fathers before this God the Father, and he has a wife. Okay, this narrative is current day. I mean, it's been, I guess, it's almost 10 years, and 8 years it's been washed out already. Okay, so this is just, they have no problem lying, and I have no problem saying that they're lying. But basically, that kind of got me out of it. Thank God I did never really, commit to it. It just doesn't make any sense logically. And, it's the same thing. I see the same thing in evangelical Christianity. It's like, well, God's not logical. So don't worry about logic when it comes to God. Okay, well, first of all, yes, I would agree with you. It's practically impossible for you to fully logicalize God in a human state, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if logic exists and God given you logic, that logic is there for something.
Yes.
Okay, it's partially to bring you to God. That makes sense. So if you're telling me that, well, I can tell you what this is, but just trust me, bro, don't use your logic. This is very cult-like. I'm sorry.
Right.
It's very cult-like. And I go into churches, my understanding of churches, I had this fantasy about churches should be like Catholic Church, right? It should be like, altars, incense, all this stuff. And, there's some solemnness in there. But I went to churches in Boston, every single one of them, even the Catholic Church did it too, in downtown Boston, had an LGBT flag, but all the parishioners freaked out.
Yikes.
Or like, they did it for like 2-3 days, they had to take it down. All the parishioners like, what the heck?
Yeah,
but
that's
right
crazy.
across the big Catholic Church, there was a bunch of Episcopal Protestant church, like old school Protestant church, beautiful churches that were built, right when the settlers came. All of them had LGBTQ flag in there.
Wow.
And one of them had, right across the Catholic Church, there's one church sitting right there with big, it was Episcopalian, with huge LGBTQ flag.
Yikes.
And interesting, that's the one that Scott Ritter, one of my favorite war analysts, came to speak like 2 months after I left. But that church, they were doing jazz liturgies. Which was interesting, and it sucked. Okay. Just saying. Yeah. Musician, I'm telling you, it sucked. And then everything else, pretty much evangelical, right? It's like, I'm like, okay, well, every time I go in there, it just feels very boring in a way. It's like, well, believe in Jesus. He did all of that for us. And the next sermon, believe in Jesus. He did all of that for us. Yeah. But it's like, the thing is, one, I start to realize I don't experience a change in that, actually. I'm not experiencing a change for myself in that. And it's not really telling me to change myself, because in their soteriology, you don't really have to change yourself. So, at the time, my mind was still very, very practical and pragmatic. So I'm like, okay, well, wait a minute. I had a fantasy that, well, this is what made the West so great, right? But it's not true, because if this is how the society is, and you're going to have a horrible society.
Right.
You're going to have a lazy, sloppy, nominalist, disunity. That's what you're going to get in that society. And I soon realized that's what society is, right? Mm-hmm. So at the time, I did not know, like, Boston was a gigantic Greek Orthodox base. I did not know. Okay. I had so many Greek friends and so many Russian, Ukrainian friends. I didn't know about Orthodoxy. And I moved back to California 2023. 2022. Started to, inquire more into religion. That's when I met, Sam Shamoon on the internet.
Oh, okay.
And initially it was very entertaining. Because, with the Muslims and, it's this goofy stuff. And then I found out that he's some sort of Catholic, and, basically he's like, well, it's either Catholic Orthodox Church, that narrative. I was like, okay, well, let's go to the Catholic Church. So I went to Catholic Church, met this amazing priest, actually. Father Thomas. This was in Riverside.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in Riverside, California. So, I woke up late. I was lazy. I went to this Korean church. I don't speak Korean. And, but he was serving there. And I talked to him after liturgy, and I mean, Mass. And he said, well, this is just my substitute church. So you should come to my main church. It's a big church. It's, I'm fine disclosing it's Saint Catherine of
Sienna.
No. Saint Catherine of Alexandria Catholic Church.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean that's one of my favorite female saints. But so I went over there. I started studying a little bit. I started asking questions. Right? I was like, wait, this, that, and I started to know about Orthodoxy. And he said, maybe check out the Orthodox churches. I'm not asking you to be, committed here, right? So I went to I went to Father Josiah's church first.
Oh, yeah, because he's out in Riverside too.
Yeah, he's actually very close to me. There's just so many people, and then I spoke to Father Thomas, and he said that because at the time I was like pretty much evangelical a little bit. I don't really buy into it, but I kind of just fit in with the crowd. I got all these hoodies with like right wing slogans on there. So he saw me walk in there. And I was involved. I was helping a bunch of evangelical Christians doing the street preaching a little bit too, because I was bored, right? Just fresh college grad, not too much work. And then he knew what it was. He knew, okay, yeah, it's one of these guys. He said, give me a brief history on both churches, very fair, and told me what they are, taught me the Jesus prayer. He said that if this is what you want to commit to, you cannot bring any of that baggage, political baggage, into the church. It's not a place for that. Because I was very political at the time, if anything, than religious. So from there, I made a decision. Like, okay, let's do that. Took a while. Took like 1 or 2 months just for me to say, okay, I'm willing to forget about everything I thought I knew about the world. I'm willing to be catechized. But unfortunately, I didn't go into St. Andrew's for my catechesis because there was just so many people, right? So I went to a nearby Greek church. And, there were, unfortunately, it was not that many people. It's more of a boomer church, cultural boomer church. And their catechesis practically didn't exist. So I still honestly had to rely on St. Andrew's for everything else in terms of chanting, in terms of seeing the sacrament. We have no marriage there, but St. Andrew's have marriages all the time. They have baptisms all the time. So I was actually at St. Andrew's for a lot of catechesis and weekday services such as Matins and Vespers. And, from there I moved again and I was eventually, long story short, baptized within the Serbian Orthodox Church. From that point, I had this YouTube for a while. I was just talking about random stuff. I kind of always used as a blog type of thing. So eventually people start following, and it's just I try to take care of my people because I am technically not monetized, but I don't take it very seriously. I just talk about random stuff on there. That's about it.
Awesome, man. It's a really awesome journey. Actually, you'll find this pretty funny is before I became Lutheran even, when I was still an evangelical myself, I was briefly engaged with a Mormon woman. And, I never knew that there were like, Latino Mormons before. Because but which is kind of like paradoxical, right? Because the theology, right, requiring like, oh, hey, when you get saved, you make it to the celestial kingdom, your skin's going to be lily white. And she was like very like, if you saw this girl, you'd be like, oh, she's indigenous, which she was. And so they tried to get me.
Yeah, let me shout out to Billy. Hey, Billy, Matins or Matins? I don't know. Matins and Matins is technically a Western term, right? You see the Slavic churches say that, but it's technically called Orthos in traditional.
Orthos, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's maintenance. I think it's maintenance. Most people say it's
It
maintenance.
depends on what language too, because like in French it'd be matins, matina, like right, like from Frère Jacques,
Yeah,
brother Jacques.
yeah,
So yeah, but it means the same thing. It's just those are the morning prayers, very like before dawn prayers, right? I think.
yeah. You know, I honestly
But
like
no,
to hear a Catholic maintenance sometimes. I mean, we only have
yeah,
two Western Rite churches in the entire California state, and that's pretty. I mean, there's not many,
yeah. What
but
St.
I
Michael's
was,
one? Yeah,
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 Father
yeah.
on
In
there,
Whittier.
and then there's a really,
Yeah.
really weird and interesting one in San Diego, which is under the Russian Orthodox Church. They use
But
Anglican,
that's
so it's like
hmm.
a weird form of Anglican liturgy. I always wanted to go here. It's really bizarre, but a lot of Eastern priests are not a
So
real
that's.
fan of that.
I thought that was mostly an Antiochian expression, though. The liturgy
No.
of Saint
Yes,
Gregor the Great.
most.
Yeah.
There's that, and there's another one, and then there is the Russian. There's minor Russian Western Rite churches.
Huh.
Initially, it was called the Liturgy of Saint Tikhon. It's not composed by
Yes.
Saint,
Okay. Yes. Correct.
but
Yeah.
they took
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Anglican liturgy and try to orthodox, make it I guess orthodox. Um, the goal was that when Roquefort came to the United States, they're like, okay, maybe the people here are used to this style, we can use it, but it never was really drawn on. Unfortunately, like the Western Rite did.
Right. So funny enough, I've seen the liturgy of Saint Gregor the Great done in Westminster at Saint Michael's. I saw a live stream. It's a little far for me. I haven't tried going.
Mhm.
But I was like, oh, this looks just like a traditional Latin mass in the vernacular, and they include some of the prayers from the liturgy of Saint John Chrysostom. I thought it was really unique. And honestly, this might be a little controversial, but I think that if the Novus Ordo had just been the traditional Latin mass in the vernacular, a lot of people would have just it would have gone down a little easier for the laity. Um,
Yeah, I know the language was a big thing. So I always
yeah,
wanted, because even our Western Rite, they don't do the full traditional Tridentine Mass. Um, so I've never seen an actual Tridentine Mass before. Well, I would love to see that one day, but hopefully it's in English.
yeah. So what they do in the TLM is, and there's a few different groups that'll do it, like the FSSP, the ICXP, and usually it's about as long as a liturgy of Saint John Chrysostom. And they will do the majority of it in Latin, but they'll go back and read like the gospel and the epistle in English, and then the homilies in English as well. They're not that deep. Like they're gonna it would be like if you went to a liturgy and they did the homily in Church Slavonic. They're not gonna,
I mean, Church Slavonic is so weird
it
too.
is it is weird.
But by the way, do you guys know that the Russians don't understand it either?
No, okay, I didn't. Well, I mean, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Russians don't even like average Russian guy go in there. I mean, if they grew up in it, they'll know what they're talking about, but really they don't understand it,
Oh
which
wow.
is ridiculous how they still use it.
Yeah, it is actually. But I mean, to be fair, it was. I mean, Saint Cyril and Methodius mostly used it strictly for for the liturgy.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's the issue. Cyril and Methodius, they were in Moravia,
Yes.
and the thing about they spoke Western Slav. They spoke
That's
Western Slav. Bulgaria spoke Western Slav. Serbia spoke Western Slav. It's almost like Russian trying to understand Serbian.
yeah.
Pretty much,
Same letters because of them, but did totally different in terms of how you
I
understand
mean,
it
even
or
the
what.
letters has difference a little bit, not too much.
Right.
Church slow, so but it's just ridiculous how they use it. I know there are Ukrainian churches that they're already using Ukrainian, which is good. So because I mean, there's a lot of controversy between Ukrainians right now, some of them being schismatics, but it's like You should
Oh,
do it in the language that people know. You know what I'm saying? Like your parish is mostly
right.
Russian. Do
Which,
it in Russian. If your parish is
yeah,
mostly Kurds, do it in English.
yep. And I
You know.
think that the Eastern churches, even the Eastern Catholic churches, are really good about that. For instance, there's a Maronite church not too far from me, and they'll do the liturgy in Arabic. They all speak Arabic, so of course, there are they have Spanish masses too, Tagalog. The Diocese of Los Angeles, which stretches all the way down through Riverside, and I think it stops at Orange County, the Orange County line, is the most diverse in terms of like the languages spoken for the liturgy or for the mass. So, but that's one thing it wasn't revolutionary for the Eastern churches because they're like we'd already been doing it in the vernacular. So when everyone was like on the West Side, like they went all gaga about like, oh, we're gonna do it in English. They're like, we've been doing it in English already. Like, it wasn't a shock.
Yeah, I mean that's the right. By the way, that's actually how Cyril and Methodius got invited to Moravia. Is because the Latins keep telling them to do it in Latin. They're like, nope.
Well,
We're
and
doing
if it wasn't for Saint Cyril and Methodius, we would not have the Cyrillic language. We would not have any of this written down. They went out of their way to adopt it, and that maximalist view with like, hey, it's got to be like in Latin. I don't know. I like I said,
I think a lot of it's cultural. So if you look at the Germanic descendants, like the Germanic nations, they were very power hungry, right?
Yes.
These people were just, always about hierarchy. They're very power hungry. And same thing if you look at Russia. I mean, the Russian people are extremely nationalistic. Like, I would say if there's anything that distinguished them from the rest of the Orthodox countries, it would be that. And that's why if you look at American Orthodoxy, the Russians, I don't know why they make the decision. It still shocks me, by the way, and I totally disagree with this decision. I don't know why they created the OCA. Because it's too early. It is too early, and then the OCA, this has already been doing some questionable stuff. But I guess it's like Americans also share this sort of nationalistic tendencies, and then Russians, they didn't feel like that was something to be concerned of. But if you look at the fruit of OCA right now, they're like, oh, we need to Americanize the entire liturgy. We need to Americanize the chanting. We need to Americanize. No, you don't. You're barely catechized. If you look at Russia, the Slavic countries, you know how many centuries they were, they were being catechized until they started to implement their own cultural element into it. Like you're barely a thing for 100 years, barely, like 80 years at best. Okay. And then you're trying to Americanize Orthodoxy. These people, I felt that was a bad decision.
Right. It leads to confusion too, because like then like it's like, why are we doing it so differently? But I mean, to be fair, even on our side, on the the Roman Catholic side, it's you'll go to different parishes of varying degrees of quality in terms of like the mass. I mean, you've probably seen it too, where some like the we don't have jazz masses, but we do have bongos in some places, which is just like baffling. Like there's varying degrees of and sometimes it comes down to the priest, it comes down to the bishop, what the bishop's willing to tolerate. And it's more permissive in the U.S. than it is in it's rough.
It's totally dumb.
So,
and
like you mentioned earlier, like about the power, like with Russia trying to like when Constantinople fell, they're like, oh well, we're the new Constantinople. I mean that was the same thing happening on the West though with oh my gosh, Charlemagne, right? Charlemagne. I mean, it's all just a power grab. Everyone wants the heritage, even the Turks. I'm a Kaiseri Rum. I'm the Kaiser of Rome. I'm the Caesar of Rome. Like everyone wanted to claim that heritage. So it's just power for power's sake.
It's dangerous. It's dangerous. I'll tell you that.
Very dangerous.
But our elder says that I don't know how much is true, but it says Russia will be till the end of ages, and it is always going to be the strongest worst. Yeah,
we should hope. I mean, yeah,
that fully depends on how they decided to catechized cradles. Nobody catechized
Oh,
cradle. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
we
And the
have the
modern
same issue over here.
well, it's the same issue everywhere. Right? The
Yeah.
modern world makes it harder too, right?
Oh yeah.
Your kids go to gay schools. You know, it's just there's nothing you can do at that point.
No.
Even
And
Catholic schools are horrible right now. Like they're just
oh, you're telling me. Yeah. No. I've
like,
been
come on, dude. Like I keep like I have a kid from our family that came just to go to Catholic school, right? Because we assumed that it would be nicer. It's like, and then he was telling his mom that he was seeing kids smoking weed in the bathrooms, like right after mass, and the kids are like, "What the hell?" It's like,
well,
you gotta. I mean, it's in California too, because technically they can't expel them. So
right. I'm gonna share with you my personal scandal about the Catholic schooling system. I know it varies. The quality varies from parish to parish. That's a big thing,
yeah, of
right?
course.
Even in the same diocese, not every school is going to be equal. But I tried to go to my home parish's school for my son. I was like, hey, I'm going to do the right thing. You know, I'm going to go to Catholic education for my son. And right away, like just the quality of the education so poor. You're paying a ton of money for what it could be effectively like this is going to be really scandalous, right? But I saw it as a kind of a grift. Whereas it's like, what are they actually like learning? Oh, we teach them theology, and I was like, what theology have you taught them that I can't catechize my son myself? Which again, like that is the role of the parent. We should not be outsourcing religious education to the church. The church is meant to supplement, not meant to take like the full lead of catechesis in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the parent is the head of the household. I'm as the head of the household. It's my job to make sure that they're adopting these practices. And so there was that. And then my son has, hey, he has ADHD. They were not willing to accommodate him, like give him a little more time for testing or anything. And because they're a private school. So it's a private institution, right? They can just say, hey, no. And I was like, well, how is that according to Christian charity? And so I got really turned off. I got really PO'd, and I pulled him right out. And I was like, nope. And then the minute we got him into a public school, they're like, oh, he's behind because they're not teaching well at all. They don't have an obligation to take on like a good curriculum. It's a private religious institution. So I got very, very scandalized, and I will openly encourage people to be very, very careful about Catholic schools. Just because it is a Catholic school doesn't mean you're going to get a quality education. And ultimately, we should be very careful about what we put our children in, right? And not just drink the Kool-Aid, right? So that was my experience with it. It really turned me off, and I do encourage people like, hey, think three times before you go and like put your kid in a Catholic school just because it says it's a Catholic school.
The person who was going to be my godfather, he's Orthodox, right? He sent his kids to Catholic school. There's no other option, but it's like it's better. He thought it was better than like public school, but it's like he drawled them out after a month.
Yeah,
it's impossible.
And I got grief for it. I got grief for it from my parish priest, too. By the way, which I was like, he was like, oh, they were trying to blame my son's behavior for why I withdrew him from it, and I was like, no,
you're there. Well, I mean, if you sign your son over to the institution, you're also responsible to discipline the kid. It's like there's no excuse in that.
Right. No, but they were trying to say that because he had ADHD, that like he's that's why I pulled him. And I was like, no, it's because you weren't going to accommodate him, and the education was of a lower quality.
Everybody has ADHD today, so
sure. Well, no, I get it. It's because of screen time and everything, but
yeah.
Point being is that he needed extra time.
Let me ask you real quick: isn't the clown mass a German tradition aimed at making mass fun for kids? I mean, listen, dude. That argument, dude, it's literally saying, isn't like drugs to make people feel better? Well, like come on, dude.
I don't think that you can really justify the clown masses or the puppet masses or anything that makes light or less of the sacrifice of Christ like that is that's why I hate this when they do like the children's church, not like the way that the Orthodox do it, because in the Eastern tradition when they bring everyone together, right, and the father will give them a little mini homily, that's fine. But when they do like, oh, we're gonna pull you aside and have you like make puppets and stuff in the middle of mass, I'm like, no, wait, hold on. Like, I don't ever let my son get pulled out or my other kids. I'm just like, no, you're gonna sit right here and you're gonna learn how to, behave and pay attention. I don't know. That's just me though. It's just a turnoff.
Yeah, I mean, you're called to raise your kid a Christian. You're not called to tailor Christianity for your kids. That doesn't make sense.
It's the other way around. We need to conform to Christ, not conform Christ to us. Here's a question. Okay, when you read figures like Ignatius of Antioch, what do you think modern Christians often miss? Oh, I'll let you take a crack at this.
I mean, when you read any church fathers,
yeah,
what modern Christians miss is everything.
Yeah,
they have no reverence for their beliefs. They have no sacrament. They have incorrect soteriology. They have no fear of God. Seriously. There's no fear of God in their religion. Where's the fear of God in their religion?
It's true.
It's literally, dude. Like, they're already in heaven. They're already saved. There's no fear of God.
Yep. Presumption is a curse. It is a curse. And you saw that even when you were talking with Ryan in your debate. There's this idea that, like you said before we got live, like, hey, I don't need to change. I don't need to do anything different. This is not a place of change. This is a place of stagnation, spiritual stagnation, right? Like, and that's a problem. That's a real dangerous thing. They don't see the travails that the fathers went through, even when they do read them. They were a church persecuted, right? They were going through like hell and back in the early church. Ante-Nicene church was like nasty.
Did you see the debate between JP Uncircumcised and Alex Soren?
Oh,
dude, it was so retarded. Like, it got to a point where he said, well, it's in the early liturgies, dude. It says, I don't know how it's in Latin masses, but it says, commemorating our most holy, glorious Lady, the Theotokos, with all the saints, let us give our lives and worship to Christ our God. Yep. How's that? So if that's in the liturgy, and you know what JP said? JP said, well, they didn't teach it. They just did it.
Oh my gosh, dude.
I shit you not. I'm like, okay, so they did it, but because they didn't teach it, it's not a doctrine. This is how, like, dumb these. I mean, he's not dumb at this point. He's just demonic, right? He said that. I can send you the timestamp once we're done with this. But right. I was like, there's no way you just said that.
Right.
He said it in the liturgy. Okay. The earliest we had was St. James liturgy from Jerusalem. They said it in the liturgy. Okay. But he didn't teach it. He didn't write a separate document to teach it. So therefore, it's not a doctrine.
Yeah, they do not understand liturgical expression. They have recontextualized the Bible too, which is a liturgical text. It's not it was never meant to be like a private devotion to inspire your own prelest with, which is what they do nowadays.
Well, you know what? I'll give them credit if they even think it's a private devotion. They think it's a textbook.
They do, but they divinize it too. I've talked to one, and I'm sure you've seen it too, where they will look at John 1:1-14 and say,
"Oh yes, all the time, all the time."
Mm-hmm.
The Word of God. So I don't know if you see my debate with JP, his buddy Mahler.
No, I haven't.
I keep asking him, "What is the Word of God? What is the Word of God?
Yeah.
What is the?" I know he's going to say the Bible, but he knows that I'm going to get him. He's like, he did say it's the Bible.
Yeah. Well, there are 3 words in Greek for word that are used in the Bible, logo, rima, and graphe, and the one that's used for Jesus is logo to the, it's logos, but they say logo to theo, the word of God, and that's what's written. That's what his name is in Revelation. That's what he's called in John 1. That's what it's a Johannine thing. John called him this because he was adopting Greek philosophy to point out this is the divine truth. This is who he is. Mm-hmm. And they don't want to recognize that because for their paradigm, the Bible has to be the end all be all. So they make a quadrinity, right? In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and the Bible for them, right? So it's unavoidable. It's unavoidable for them.
Back to that point, it's like, well, that's the same shit as saying that I play the piano. I'm good at it because I don't teach it. I didn't take any students. I don't know how to play piano. This is the argument. I have to teach it I have to write a whole book about how I teach. I'm good at the piano for me to be good at piano. I'm just an example. I'm not good at piano or anything, but this is how dumb these people are. I mean, I don't think they're dumb. I think they're intentional. I think they're seething, right?
Right.
But what's interesting is he started the debate with Alex. Well, I want the first 3 centuries.
Okay.
And then, no, I want this first. Okay, there's one in 3rd century, but I want the first 2 centuries.
Okay, yeah, I was that's just goalpost moving.
First of all, huge respect to Alex for even taking that premise.
Yeah,
because I wouldn't have taken that premise. No, seriously, that's a Catholic Orthodox doing that premise is extremely difficult, and I commend him for doing it. The reason is because, first of all, you taking the first 3 centuries, especially the first 2, that's when the church was heavily persecuted.
Yes.
You're not going to find teachings on anything. No. You're also going to find biblical canon. Okay? Nope. Because the church was running. They don't have time to settle down and write all the teachings for you in the modern sense that you look. But his whole debate from, well, if it doesn't exist in the first 2 centuries, it's not true. Well, your canon and your belief also didn't. But Alex was so brave, he actually took that debate. He's like, okay, I will do this. But it's like, I wouldn't do the debate, because if you by that same standard, I need you to show your doctrine of sola scriptura being taught there.
Right.
It's not.
Which they can't. Yeah, which they can't. Because the Jews didn't even follow that. It's ridiculous.
The only quote line they have from the scriptures, which is totally dumb too, is like, well, I think it says everything in scripture is God breathed, profitable.
Oh, Theanusas. Yeah.
How does that have anything to do with sola scriptura?
It doesn't. It doesn't, because it says it's sufficient for teaching. It doesn't say it's the sole mechanism for teaching.
What is that even talking about? Like, what books is that even talking about?
Which at the time the full canon wasn't even written. Yeah. It was in process of being written. Yeah. So that would be only the Old Testament by their logic, right? But
by their logic. So how
it accords with them too, because a lot of them are Judaizers. They don't mean to be, but they really are Judaizing.
I just debated this guy like a few weeks. I just wanted to mess with him. Like, this guy's insane. It's the Southern Israelite guy. So this guy, he's not black. He's white, but so basically he sued the director of immigration for $700,000 because he has a South African wife. They won't give her her visa.
Oh.
And he said that you're withholding my property. No, it blew up. So I got him on the show, and the dude was totally whack.
That's funny.
Yeah. He
He
said polygamy is also should be practiced.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. And I asked him, do you practice it? No, I don't have money. Of course you don't.
So, bro, I could become a Black Hebrew Israelite, right? You knew that. No, I'm dead serious too. You can laugh, but they allowed Latinos now to join the Black Hebrew Israelites. They opened up,
Yeah, I saw one in their little thing in Texas. Their little video, like in the front row, there was a Latino guy.
Yeah, because they opened it up now because they're like, oh, we're not getting enough membership, I guess. So yeah, I could become a Black Hebrew Israelite. You'll see me down in Venice Beach and I'll be and harassing people. Oh my gosh, dude. But no, yeah, this is the fruits of it, and they don't study the Old Testament, right? They'll say like, "Hey, I read the Bible. I know the Bible better than any Orthodox or Catholic," and it's like, okay, but then you would know that Moses, from the chair, was actually giving out like judgment as the word of God. He wasn't just using the scriptures alone, which he was writing with the judges, the Shoftim. They were all writing it. So like, you have to point to the fact that there was a church first. The church existed before the scriptures. The church existed before the tradition. They lived the tradition. They created the tradition, and they were used by God to do this. And that automatically eliminates any of these weird, nonsensical like sects and cults like evangelicalism, like Mormonism, Jehovah's. Any of the restorationist movements are just gone. And it really takes you down the path to the apostolic churches. But they have to deny apostolic authority to get to that. First.
Did you know that the Mormons are the fastest growing group of quote Christians in the United States?
That's crazy. No, I did not know that.
They are.
That's wild.
Because they're doing guerrilla marketing.
Oh yeah.
But the worst part is not that they're growing; it's that it reflects you how stupid the American mass is.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. They
But
don't read. They don't read about this. Remember for like a lot of evangelicals, a lot of the Mormons, a lot of these groups. It's the burning in the bosom, right? They
yeah,
they,
and I think they just learned a new Nicaea argument. So, oh, everything fell at Nicaea. I was like, dude, no, you know,
yeah, Emperor Constantine, bro.
yeah, Constantine. Yeah, that's. I was like, dude, you've never read Nicaea, first of all, and you don't know why was Nicaea called. They're like, well, the Trinity was invented at Nicaea. But, okay, first of all, from that language, literally, if I take the Nicene Creed, I can actually read Mormonism in there. By the way, I can literally do that.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Cappadocians that defined the Trinity fully. First of all, so these people have no actual argument. So I had to. I don't know if you've seen that guy Robert Byrd try to debate Jay Dyer, and he said Joseph Smith is Messiah ben Joseph from the.
I did hear that.
Talmud.
So that's a Judaizing argument.
He said the Talmud belongs in the Bible, and then Joseph Smith restored it.
Come on, bro. Are you serious? That's really bad.
Yeah, dude, that clip is everywhere, dude. I'm like, dude, there's no way this guy is real. I know Robert's a really good guy.
But all jokes aside, look, you notice this trend, right? Well, they will skip the apostolic churches and go straight to Judaism, modern rabbinic Judaism, before they would ever acknowledge the Orthodox or the Catholic Church or any other apostolic church for that matter. Yeah, it's crazy to me that's like that's the leap. Even with my own parents, right? Like when I converted, they're like, "Oh, why don't you just become a Jew?" Like it's like, well, because there's a look, these are the real, this is the Israel of God. If you agree with the church and that what Christ did, that is the Israel of God, right? And that's one of the things I like that Jay Dyer like really kind of like actually woke up in me. It was like, oh yeah, that is true, because this, anything else would be the synagogue of Satan. They're those that call themselves Jews, and they're not. So you need to look at like this is the church is the new Israel. The church is that theanthropic institution. He said he would walk with us, right? He said
modern society. This is again a product of the Enlightenment. It's total philosophical disaster, logical disaster, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just fully taking the West into pragmatism, accelerating everything, right?
Yeah,
did some good. You could argue did some good things, but it's a total philosophical and logical disaster.
Yeah.
And I mean, spiritually, you can debate that, but it's going to be a long debate. But if you look at these people, like they don't understand word concept fallacy. Ryan doesn't understand it. JP doesn't understand. None of these people. So when you say Jew, that doesn't mean the Jew. What Jew?
Yeah, the modern Jew, the rabbinic Jew, the
modern Ashkenazis that have literally 20% Hebrew DNA at best.
Right.
Or are you talking about the Sahedric? You're talking about the rabbinic canon, Jewish canon in the 10th century. Are you talking about which group of Jews? The Yaspa Jews we use the Septuagint, or was it the Temple Jews that use the Hebrew?
Yeah,
proto. They didn't even have a canon. It's proto Hebrew canon. Which group of Jew? And this is why Zionism also went freaking rampant. This is Jesus was Jew. We honor Jew. Jew equals Jew. No, right. Jesus. The way Jesus was a Jew is completely different than the Jews today. And I would make the argument that Jews back then, the way they are Jews, is also not the Jews, how the Jews are today.
That's correct. Well, I would say that the covenant has been broken because there's no temple to offer sacrifice. They're not fulfilling their covenantal obligations at all.
It's not just that. So if you look at the Jewish encyclopedia, it's hilarious how they define a Jew. So, and again, obviously Zionism had huge influence in there. So before at the 70s, right, it says anybody who, is blood by Jew and also converts to Judaism.
Yep, that's correct. That's the modern. They still hold that.
After that, it's and it also says that people who, even if they are full-blooded Jews and they don't believe in Judaism, they're not Jews.
That's correct.
He said specifically this quote. I remember. It is wrong for us to attribute Jew or Hebrew to every single person in the Bible. So they're referring to like people like Jesus. They don't consider him a Jew. Yep. People like the apostles, they don't consider them Jews.
Correct.
So right. And then after that, when Zionism started to go nuts, what do? Everybody who has Hebrew DNA Jew.
Yep. They contradict themselves.
And I'll tell you why I think they do this. It's because they have this fantasy they want to create the greater Israel. And to do that, they have to gather the people. And the Jews they were, if you look into history, I give it to them, by the way. They're not afraid to die. These people are not afraid to die for the greater good. And what they do is that, well, see, everybody who has Hebrew DNA, 5%, 3%, 10% is a part of us. Okay? Now, you don't have to, for example, if you have, like, say, 10% Jewish, Ashkenazi Jew DNA, you are a Jew. I don't care if you think that you're not a part of us. We consider you a part of us. And guess what? We have money. So in the public, we're going to portray you as also somebody who just lived, have no connection intelligently and emotionally to our culture, to our religion. We're just going to connect you to us. And the mass public is retarded, so they're going to believe it. And we're going to do horrible things. I mean, by the way, the Jews in Israel, the Israelis, they understand that when they bullshit about Palestine, nobody believes it. They fully understand. But the reason why they still do it is because, one, they can. It's a display of power. Two, they want people who are Jews to be hated all over the world, so they can join them. Right? Just for having Ashkenazi DNA, they should be hated, just like them. That they think that would draw people closer to them, so they can create the greater Israel, regathering Israel.
Yep. You know, it's really funny. That's that word concept fallacy you were talking about. They take Israel to mean the modern geopolitical state of Israel, and they're not talking about the Israel of God, which again would be the church. And one of Dyer's arguments that I really liked was where he pointed to Melchizedek, right? As like he was a priest of God before there was even Israel, and he was a priest of God of Salem, right? Jerusalem, before that was even established. And then when it had been conquered, he had David go and reconquer Jerusalem for God, right? So it shows like, you know, this is kind of all this hermeneutics that even you were talking about with your debate with Ryan, where these words are just like they don't understand them, or they apply a very flat meaning based on English. And it's like, dude, these texts weren't written in English. One, they weren't written with a language that was as simplistic as English.
Do you see that debate with Father John Ivanov and that moron, what's his name, Matt Powell?
No.
The guy said, so when Father Ivanov referenced Greek, he's like, only cultists do that. Yeah, he said only cultists will go to the other languages. English yeah, he said that shit.
That's like some KJV onlyist nonsense. They do that too, by the way, where they deify the English language, and they're like, you can only read it in 1611 King James English. And I was like, dude, that's
I mean, dude, seriously, somebody who speaks 3 languages, it's like the point of translation is to get you broader idea, like a general idea to what the text is talking about. You know, you're never ever going to understand any text in a translated language the way you can understand it in the original language. Never.
Correct.
I'll give you an example. The word "kyrieleison." I don't know. You guys use it sometimes, maybe in the Latin, right?
Yeah, in the liturgy we do. That's the only Greek we have in the Mass.
So, by the way, that word is almost impossible to translate in any language as a single word.
Correct.
Because Kyrie is Lord. Eleison means it's like, people. Back in the days, the workers would work in the field, right? And then it's very hot in the desert, and the master will come with olive oil, and they will actually go to their workers and put olive oil on their back. So basically, works as sunscreen and soothing them. It's like a soothing mechanism to them, right? So that's what eleison is, right?
Like
but
yeah,
the Anglo language and many of the Asian language too, very legalistic. So it's like, it means forgiveness. No, that doesn't. No, it doesn't mean forgiveness. But you see how it's impossible to translate in one word like "kyrieleison" in other languages. It's just it's impossible to understand these things unless at least I'm not saying you have to learn Greek, Latin, or whatever, but you got to at least understand what the context is, right?
Right, and even like in the mass, like when they'll say it in Greek and then in English, and the English translation is like you said, it's different. Like they'll say "Lord have mercy," right? Kyrie eleison, because
Yeah.
Kyrios could mean Lord, Master. There's different, it's not just a one to one, and that's even in Spanish, right? Like there's different words for word, which even in John 1, like sometimes they'll use verbo de Dios, like the action of God, like Jesus is the act of God, versus palabra, which is just like a written or spoken word. So
Did you know how to say "Lord have mercy" in Latin?
in Latin, it's oh my gosh, um it's something, it would be misericordia, or something like that. I know in Spanish it's ten piedad,
Yeah,
like
Señor.
de nosotros, like Lord have mercy on us.
Mm-hmm.
In Spanish, it would be. I think they still say Kyrie eleison though. Even even in the TLM they do. So,
Yeah,
it's interesting.
yeah, it's people again. It's just and then neat God is like, well, if you read, I think you said if you read Harry Potter, do you need somebody to interpret? Well, first of all, yes, and second, the interpretation is actually there because the author sets the scene of the book. She sets, the tone of the book, and she tells you exactly what the characters are. She spends time developing the characters, right? And through her interviews and the show, these things are made very apparent. But it's like, yes, things need to be interpreted, but at a bottom level, you can trust the interpretation if it's given. It doesn't mean that you have to always interpret everything. You can't ever understand anything.
Right, but there's an authoritative interpretation, and if you wanted to understand it, you'd have to go to the source or whoever curated it. And then I did find out I remember we do this during the Lamb of God. It's miserere nobis, like have mercy on us, right? Because miserere is like the word for mercy in Latin.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, so even in Spanish they'll say ten misericordia. Sometimes they'll say it. It's different. Like every language does it differently though, and even like when you look at the biblical translations from Spanish to English, like some of the words they use are different. So again, translation, like you said, it's meant to give you an idea of like what is meant. But if you can go to the source, which we can, and the fathers did and read in Greek,
and you should.
Yeah, you should do your due diligence. There's not an excuse not to see what it means and be like, that's where like we get these things with like John 3:36, right, where it says, hey, if you obey the Son, you'll be saved, but if you disobey the Son, the wrath of the Father will abide on you, right? So people look at that and be like, oh, well, it says in some translation will say if you obey the Son, but if you disobey, and it's like, well, it's if you believe, and it's conflating disbelief with disobedience, because belief is part of what we're called to do. Believe in, repent and believe the gospel, right? The good word, the evangelion. So it's just, but they want to take this and say, oh, it's not obedience, right? That doesn't mean obedience, it just means belief. And it's like, okay, but how do you show your belief? How do you show your belief to a master? Which again, that's how we equate this. He's the Lord, he's our master. You obey the master, right? I mean, that's like a straightforward. It's not like science or brain breaking to come to that conclusion, which even you saw it with Ryan, right? He's an antinomian. I don't have to believe in anything. I don't have to do anything. It's just like, I just have to believe. Yeah.
Shut off your channel. Shut off your channel, and then also turn off the gay AI music.
Yeah.
That was the worst part. Honestly, that was the worst part.
The AI music? Yeah.
All that crap.
He sells that.
Yeah, these people are just.
Yeah. No, it's really though, man. It's just like I said, I love when you got him on hermeneutics though, because that is really where it's at. It's like, do you have the humility to say, hey, I don't understand this text fully. I do have someone I can appeal to. Like I can go to the authority of the church, the understanding of the church from, the history.
Yeah, if you're on the internet, you're saying, well, I'm helping people do this, then okay, well, you should be an authoritative. You present yourself as an authoritative figure,
right?
So you should answer those questions. In my opinion, anybody, right? I'm not an Orthodox apologist. I'm not a Christian apologist. I talk about it. I'll debate somebody just for fun, but
Right.
I'm not that type of person, right?
Right.
My role in the church, I chant in the church. I'm preparing to be, ordained to subdeacon, possibly deaconhood, but that's it. I'm not a theologian or any sort. But people who does it, I think like anybody on the internet who's like, well, I'm here to help you understand this religion. I am here to do this. You should have proper presentation, and you should be open to those questions.
Yeah, of course.
Because Christianity, right before it was called Christianity in the early centuries, it was called the Way.
The Way, yep.
Right, and why is it called? And that's why heresies are so important, because the way means the way to Christ, the way to salvation. And if you distort that, you will turn away.
Yep. You'll turn away from the way. Yeah. And
you will turn away. So
and it's narrow. And this is one thing that I get so bothered about, dude. Because did you ever see the Ubi Petrus debate with Voice of Reason? You ever see that one?
That one's just atrocious.
It was so bad, dude. Voice of Reason was making the most fallacious garbage arguments. It was a painful day to be Catholic watching that.
Dude, like, I don't understand the guy. I mean, he is. I don't consider him a Catholic apologist. Not to defend Catholic.
Not anymore.
Well, never. But this guy, he does have arguments, and the one that he had with Benjamin Michael was even worse.
Yeah.
That's before he debated, maybe before or after. But this guy is just, I don't want to, again, we're all sinners, right? I don't want to get people on that sort of stuff.
Right.
But it's like, you got to you can't be strawman people like that. Like, the entire thing is just freaking strawman. And Ubi is just.
Ubi was bad too. I mean, yeah, but to be fair though, I would have a difficult time not crashing out if someone told me, oh, by the way, we're right because we have more people. It's like, okay, so by that logic, the Arian ascendancy, the Trinitarians were in the wrong because there were less Trinitarians than Arians. It's just really like, it blows my mind.
I think the crash out was definitely wrong. It was like,
no, of course it's wrong, but I mean, I'm saying like I would be very frustrated if someone brought that to my plate and I was like, really, like this is what you're bringing today. Like it would be very frustrating, especially when you're doing it in a church. You're supposed to prep for it, and you're just bringing a bunch of fallacious garbage.
Why is the Catholic Church bigger than the Orthodox Church?
Who's wrong and who's right? He kept repeating that too, and I was just like, "This isn't the gotcha you think it is, dude."
That's why I stopped watching first 30 minutes. Yeah, two today. I didn't finish that debate. The moment I saw that, I was like, "Okay, I already know how the comment section is going to look like. I'll just wait for that."
Yeah, and then he was trying to bring up oikonomia and akriva, and I was like, "Bro, don't even go there and pretend."
Is he actually Eastern Catholic, or is he just a LARPing?
So, I think he genuinely is an Eastern Catholic, but I don't know the guy. Like I don't even know what he does, but he still appears on videos, even though his bishop told him not to. So, that's a whole nother thing, right?
That sounds like a very Eastern Catholic. Yeah, I mean, bishop.
Dang.
Yeah.
No, but no, yeah. So you can see that, and that's another thing that really bothers the crap out of me is like a lot of the modern Catholic apologists are Eastern Catholics. Yet Eastern Catholics are maligned by the majority Western Church. If you've and I'm sure you've seen something similar with like, Eastern Orthodox and Western Rite Orthodox. That sometimes there's I don't want to say suspicion, but there's like this worry about like, oh,
no, here's the thing. Yeah. It's not suspicion. It's actually true. So when the Western Rite was first created, they had a lot of stuff that we're not supposed to teach. They did. So they indeed did. And what happened was the Metropolitan Sava of the Antiochian Archdiocese of North America, he cracked down on them. That's what happened. I've caught them lying, priests lying, because they said the organ, the Byzantine liturgies use organ. And I looked that up. No, it's not true. Yes, the organ was invented in Byzantium. They did not use it in liturgy.
No, it was meant for like carnivals and like the circuses.
Yeah. So I'm like, no, that's a lie. Okay, you don't have to lie about that. And this is very pointless. right? Just stuff like that. And then the Metropolitan, those, I don't know if you guys call Metropolitan in Catholicism, but Metropolitan pretty much like, depending on jurisdiction, the Archbishop. So he cracked down on them. He said, nope, you're not going to lie about this. You're not going to teach Sacred Heart that way and all that stuff, pretty much.
Right, which is fair. And honestly, like if you took an apostle or any of the early fathers and showed them like, hey, by the way, we use organs in our churches, they would be appalled, because I'm genuinely serious. Like organ music at the time of the Roman Empire was vulgar. It was used for like vulgar purposes. They had the little pump water organs.
It's very difficult
yeah
instrument, by the way. As a keyboardist, it's a very, my master played organ. He has a master's degrees in organ playing, but it's very difficult. I commend all organ players. I just don't think any instrument should be used in churches. That's why you go to traditional Latin mass where they don't use the organ. It's very beautiful.
Yeah, and honestly, that there's nothing wrong with. I'll say this, in the modern context with how things have gone, there's nothing wrong with organs. I'm just saying that from like the historical perspective, the organ is, it was just an instrument meant for like petty and crude like entertainment, but it's evolved since. And I do like the liturgies where they do not use music either, because it's ultimately like, look, the liturgy of St. John Chrysostom is a recall to the house church, right? To the church in hiding, right? And that's why, like, they say the doors, wisdom, be attentive, because back then you would close the doors and make sure that there are no Roman soldiers like coming around to try to, kick the door in and enslave you. And the way they intone it is also something like, this is meant to be read. This is how it was meant to be transmitted to people. Because not everyone could read, which again, that's another thing that Ryan did, which was presentism. He was trying to say like, oh, yeah, everyone could read it. Everyone could go. It's like, no, they couldn't. Literacy rates were like,
he ran so many topics in that debate. I don't even remember anything. I asked him, he's like, rich people were going to read it. The scriptures, because they can't read. I'm like, are you serious? Like, you think the rich people back then just read scriptures to people?
Yeah, right.
How ridiculous do you have to be? As a no, it was the church, it was the bishops, the priests who were reading the scriptures to the laity.
Right.
And he won't say it. He just, rich people.
Was Jesus rich? He was able to read as a rabbi. So again, like, this thing is like, it's just so, it's a historical mistreatment of the source, right?
Also, a lot of rich people didn't read too.
No, they had people to read to them. Yeah. Even in ancient Rome, like, right, like if I want someone to read to me, I'll go get a Greek slave and he can read to me, like, and teach my kids, which that was normal, like having a tutor like that. But and this is why, like, iconography, right, like some of the stuff I got behind me, the stuff that they have in Latin churches, or not Latin churches, Eastern churches, is so important. It was a teaching tool. It shows you, it brings the words to light in your mind so that you can see it, and it's the window to heaven. Like, I have, like, you can barely see it, but I got Jesus the Vine right here. Yeah, and it's like, but people don't really grasp that in the modern iconoclastic view. That's so good.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
If we ever meet up, I'll give you one, because I make these.
Oh, dude, you make your own? Oh yeah, no, I'd be totally down, man.
I got a whole like icon wall out there. I got a huge icon wall. But Billy says, so we don't like instrument and mass for children's liturgy. Are stained glass windows okay, or are they too? I don't know, dude. I don't have a really good. I don't know. So maybe you can answer that.
I like stained glass windows. I think, again, that's also meant to tell the story. In Eastern churches, they just paint on the walls just the way the synagogues were.
Well, actually, my first Greek church had stained glass.
That's really nice.
And the church that I got baptized at also had some stained glass. I think it's okay.
It's fine. Yeah, it's just a very expensive way to do it. It's very difficult to maintain. That's like a lot of the churches out here that have like stained glass. It puts them in the pit to basically try to fix it when something goes wrong. But I like the way that Eastern churches, like I said, they'll paint these scenes on the wall. They'll have Christ, the Pantocrator on the ceiling. Things that were done by the Jews, which again, like, and I know Jay Dyer mentioned this a lot, the Europos synagogue shows that, hey, like, by the way, not only does it show this in the biblical text that they were painting and depicting these images on the wall, but also we have like more modern examples of Jews doing this.
Yeah. It says the ecumenical council
is needed today. Oh,
it's needed today. Who has the authority? how the entire church know if it's truly ecumenical. Okay, so two things there. The reason why it was called the ecumenical council is because it was called by the emperor. Unfortunately, Christianity no longer have a big boss, and that sucks. But it is what it is. But usually, I mean, what they happened in we had universal synods. I don't know how the Catholic Church works, but we had universal synods. Basically, jurisdictions meet jurisdictions, and if the teaching, we don't know if it's ecumenical. It's ecumenical if the entire church accepts it at the end. If it accepts it, it's not. It's ecumenical. That's pretty much what it is.
Right, and one good example for this actually came up with Bishop Metropolitan Callistos Ware. So Timothy Ware wrote a book about the history of the Orthodox Church, and he mentioned that the reason why there's a divergence in this, in the way that the East and the West dealt with it, was because after the fall of the Western Empire, there was no like vertical hierarchy to handle things, whereas on the East they still had an emperor. You had the benefit of that power structure, and so they turned to the Pope to kind of fill the gap for what they were missing, right? Like that was kind of why this developed on the West, different from the East. The other thing is, like, you can point to like an example like the Council of Hieria versus Nicaea II, where an emperor will call a council for a politically motivated reason, like Hieria, to get rid of icons so that they can continue to accept Islamic trade, and it's rejected later when they realize, like, hey, this is wrong, and actually we can see this example of iconography being used in the past. And so like he's, to his point, it's to the acceptance of the whole church, and then from the Catholic side, we would say it would be the Pope that would ratify it, but in order for the Pope to ratify it, it would also have to be accepted. So it's a both and, right? Because
what issue do inter-Catholics and inter-Orthodox obsess over that ordinary faithful Christian really think about?
Oh,
I wouldn't say really think about it, but I'm going to be honest. I think these things are very crucial issues, right? But for me, it's like it comes down to anthropology. Like Catholics and Orthodox, we have a different view on anthropology. That's why you see our prayer difference, monasticism, this difference. But that's this is a topic for another day. But I think those things do matter in that sense, because if Christianity is the way to heaven, to paradise, then it's very important for us to identify the problem of humanity correctly, and to administer cure to it correctly, accurately, and for people to practice that, right? So I guess I don't think it's necessarily I wouldn't say they're necessarily obsessed. I would say it's just something on their mind, right?
Right.
But there are stuff like the polemics.
Oh, yeah.
The polemics are, I mean, at this point, it's like, for me, right? So I'm an Orthodox. I come up Catholic channel. I have no problem doing this. But it's like, obviously we have huge disagreements on that stuff. But at the end of the day, dude, like, nobody can tell the other person what to believe, right? It's not your place. It's not your duty. It's not your authority to do so. You're firm in my belief. I'm firm in my belief. There's no point to continue to, throw knives at each other's throats.
No.
Just try to get along. Who knows? Somebody could change their mind, but try to get along, and you go on your ways. You don't have to murder each other or just hate each other just for religion differences. Right. I don't like that. How's it going, Hope Defender?
Me neither. Oh, what's up, dude? Yeah, all's well. I would say for me, like, there's small things like the way that you cross yourself. Like on the Western side, we mirrored the priest, and that's how it started, going from left to right instead of right to left. The other thing is that there's this inordinate focus in the West, and I've seen this, right? It's a very harsh dividing line between scholasticism and the more mystical approach to things. And it's like, well, you can't really take one in isolation, right? God is not a watch that we take apart and like see what makes him tick, right? And at the same time, we have to acknowledge that there is mystery to this, right? And it's not just a pure like mental thing. This over rationalization is a real turn off to me, which is why I kind of gravitate towards Eastern thinking, like the recapturing of the nous, right? The core of us, the heart. That's what the Eastern Fathers talk a lot about. And I think another thing that really rides me the wrong way is the Eastern Catholics are treated poorly because of their feelings towards Palamas, and this Thomistic like absolutism really bothers me, right? Like I personally venerate Gregory Palamas. I actually enjoy hesychastic theology. I don't see why people will call Palamas a heretic when it's like, okay, he's venerated in the Eastern Catholic churches. How can how can he be a heretic if he has a local cultus in the Eastern Catholic churches? It just doesn't make any sense to me, right? It just blows my mind. So yeah, and I'll use scholastic language, but I do have an understanding of Palamas and his expression, and
Mhm.
I do not see. Maybe it's just me, and I'm not reading enough, and I could go read more. But even in his triads, right? Like Palamas himself, like there's not really a conflict with the way we view things. You know, from but like with strict Thomism, like they've now taken it and made it like to this degree that it's like impossible or irreconcilable, and I think that that's
I mean, I'm pretty sure like regarding Thomism, like people in the Vatican don't even care anymore. It's like the only people who cares about like the strict
exactly.
scholastic shit is like the people larping on the internet.
Yes, yes, exactly, and that's why, like, for me, like, hey, dude, I pray the Jesus prayer. I have chotkeys. I'll pray it in my car. It's like that, and this is something that was even happening during the supposed, you know, Great Schism at the time in like 1054. People were still cross communing. Like the laity was still cross communing. They didn't care. It was mostly at the leadership level. The bishops were disputing.
Yeah,
So
but
yeah,
to answer Akhlai, I would say it's all things. Hesychasm is a discipline, the heart and mind, and
yeah,
we have the doctrine of the nous, right?
yeah,
Uh, Body, soul, intellect. Three things we try to purify and achieve. Because you know we view it. The reason why we have the doctrine of nous is that it's to mirror the Trinity. We're created in the image of God, right? So that's
yes.
the Trinity. In the humanity. So we're trying to balance that. We're trying to purify that. We're trying to unite that in one towards prayer towards God. I think that that's a fair understanding of hesychasm.
Right. And we can commune with the uncreated energies. We can. Like there's nothing wrong with having that and being able to have that Mount Tabor experience. He came so that we could commune with him. He came so we could dwell in him and he in us. That
But
to
as a
me is
lot
not
will have
problematic.
issues. Pope Defender says, as a lot will have issues with Palamas. Yes, because I mean, to be honest, in all honesty, this on this topic, the anthropology, the Catholic anthropology, and the this is where you see the Catholic anthropology and the Orthodox anthropology really diverge in Palamas. Because at the time of Palamas, and it really wasn't the same thing. Like people truly didn't believe that they were talking about the same thing.
Yeah, well, Bellarmine read through Palamas's writings and totally misunderstood. He read it through a scholastic lens. Is a major thing I have an issue with, right? Where he took like the distinction to mean like a real distinction in the sense of like a separate entity, which is not what Palamas taught at all. He said that the energies inhere into the essence.
And I even tried to study like scholastic stuff. I just don't understand how they necessarily had to come to this understanding.
Right.
Personally,
And
I might be very shallow in it, but I just don't see why they could misunderstand him in that way.
because and I think part of it is also, and this is something that Timothy Ware points in his book too, is that the divergence in speaking Latin and Greek was a major issue for them as things started to progress in their divergence. They
So
stopped learning it, they stopped understanding it, and the nuance between Latin and Greek, like procedere, right, with like the filioque, like it does not line up one to one with the Greek, and they just it's a little more flat than the Greek, so that's why like stuff like that just
I give a lot personally, right? I give a lot of lenience to Latin Church, even in we're in schism, because if you look at history, the Latin Church went through some really bad shit,
yeah,
right? So
yep, did
first, it was you had a bunch of Anglo the savages come in, destroy the capital, and yes, Emperor Saint Justinian fought back, kind of restored it, and then you started to have these Anglo power struggles all
yep,
throughout the West, which the Catholic Church struggled. I mean, just literally the Church struggled to just keep them in check, right? And then it got to a point that nobody spoke Greek really.
yep.
Everybody's just Latin. And at least, at that point, I guess the Anglos start to become more civilized, unified in language. And then they still wouldn't stop killing each other. And the Catholic Church had to unite, ally with the Franks.
Yep.
and there became the Pope, some Pope. I mean, this is debate about. I'm not going to make a statement, but it's like some popes were deposed, unjustly, and installed in a way, and then there's and went to post schism, and even less, Western Church spoke Greek, and it's just
Yep.
pretty Latin, and that's where things really start. And then the Anglos are so, in their cultures, they're so power hungry. They try to overreach the church. I mean, we saw what happened in Moravia, right?
Yep.
And then all this stuff, and then the two faith, even before the, I mean, I'm not going to comment on Moravia on the stream, but I encourage people to look at what happened. It was very bad in Moravia.
Yeah. Well,
And even the Pope said it was bad.
Yeah, well, even in the Balkans, like one of the main things that caused the Great Schism was the exercise of power by trying to install Latin bishops in a historically Eastern area, and that's what caused the entire thing. It wasn't about the theology at first; it was mostly the power. It was mostly the politics, and that's what came down to it. Then the theology came later, like when things started really cracking. But it first became like, no, we're going to install our bishops here. You just have to accept it. And they're like, no, we don't have to accept it. And so that's why to me, like it's just really frustrating to read back on it and see like this could have been avoided. A lot of this could have been prevented. Obviously, it's like boohoo, like we can't change history, but
you see the people. I would say the Anglos in the West, right? The Germanic tribes, their ethos was really never fully evangelized.
No.
That's why they behave so differently than all the other four seats, the people of all the other four seats. But the thing is, like, and then you have the fall of the Byzantine Empire.
That was bad. That was really bad.
That was bad. And then the West just like, oh, we're going to sit this out. Yeah. And they sent that one missionary guy, the mercenary guy, and he fought really well in Constantinople, and he was killed there. I wish he was canonized.
Yeah.
But he wasn't.
Yeah.
At least by the Catholic Church, right? But anyways, so after fall of Byzantine Empire, all the Greeks fled to the west, and that's where they brought the Greek language again. Okay, and that's kind of what started to inspire the Western Church. But they didn't do it the right way, in our opinion. They started to implement Greek philosophy, which kind of contributed to scholasticism. But the Church Fathers were not very fond of traditional Greek philosophy. That's the thing.
They would use it when it was apt, but not like as the absolute, right? And so that's part of what like drives a wedge between us today, right? Is this hinging on like strict Aristotelian scholastic metaphysics, right? Like where it's like some of these things should be left as a mystery. The other thing was like during this occupation of Byzantium or Constantinople by the Turks, the church did not have a good time. The Eastern Church basically from that point on spent like the majority of their time like being persecuted. They were being extorted by the Turks for bishopric seats. They were being maligned, mistreated, killed, imprisoned, and that's all the way up to like Soviet Russia where these things were happening.
So a friend's working on an icon right now. I haven't checked on her, but she's working on an icon of the nun martyrs of Constantinople. Nobody talks about this, but they were pretty much being mass raped by the Turks. And what they did is she's working on an icon of all of them praying and jumping into the well to not have their bodies defiled. So there was that. And what else was I going to tell you? But yeah, I mean, like the West kind of just experienced that technological boom from. This is why it's a bad argument to say, well, you see how successful the West is in technology.
I hate that argument.
No, dude, it's like no, if you look at history, it's actually the East that brought all those things to the West.
Correct. Colleges, a lot of the science,
architecture.
Architecture.
Okay, and philosophy. But Aristotelian philosophy, it's like honest. It actually fits more with Mormons. It works better with Mormons.
Well, it started with Islam. They had recovered some Aristotelian texts, and so in response, that is how Aristotelian metaphysics started becoming used. Because like, no, we have a better grasp of this. That's why Thomas Aquinas was writing against the Muslims at the time. because that's where this resurgence of it came from.
I heard Aquinas have some really good works against Muslims. I just never had the chance to read them. I'll probably
he does. Him and Saint John Damascene, I mean, were like excellent. They're like contra Islam work. We have a question here.
Damascene.
Yeah, Saint John of Damascus.
Damascus, yes.
Yeah, he's the one that wrote the treatises on the sacred images too during Nicaea too.
Yeah, I have his icon sitting up there.
So what dangers arise when people pursue mystical experiences instead of repentance? Oh, well, that's pre-list, but
yeah. Well, you can, yeah, sure. Our words, we call it pre-lust.
Yeah.
I mean, the heart, soul, and mind, it's all gillable, dude. Yeah. So, you're just opening yourself for the door of, there's a story. He's not a Catholic saint, but Saint Nikitas of Kiev caves. So this guy pretty much looked at the monastic fathers, wanted to become a monk. Okay, he went to the fathers. Hey, I'm going to be an ascetic. So I'm going to be a loner. I'm going to go to this cave, and it's going to be really cool. And I'm going to sit there and, be like Saint Macarius or something. And the father said, nope, you don't have permission to do that. And he said, too bad, I'm doing it. So he went over there pretty much just doing what you're saying, sitting alone in a dark cave and praying. And an angel came to him and started to pray with him, right? And he thought he was like really cool. And problems started to arise because visitors started, there's this monk that's clairvoyant. And everybody started visiting him. And he wasn't humble, right? Like most monks. He was like, yeah, I'll talk to you about this. Yeah. And then he was able to recite the entire Old Testament with memory. Okay? In memory. But anytime somebody asked him about the gospel, it's almost like a demon's being irritated. He wouldn't talk about the gospel. And he memorized the whole Old Testament from his heart, from his mind, wouldn't talk about the gospel. Every time somebody brings up the gospel, it's like something triggered him. So that eventually got reported to the abbots, and then they prayed for him and got rid of the demon.
Yep.
But he thought for 10 years, I think, that was an angel.
Yep. And you have examples of this too, like Saint Seraphim of Seraph, where he was literally battling demons when he was in the cave, when he was in his own place, constantly being attacked. But he fought it. And others on our side for like Counter Reformation, we have like Saint Ignatius of Loyola, who again, like I don't know what it is about like being drawn to like a cave to be sequestered away, but it just opens you up to attack. The Stylite monks too and saints were also attacked while they were on their pillars, out in the desert. So it's just really, what does it say in the Bible that Satan prowls around like a hungry lion waiting for someone to devour. So I mean, if they think they can, capitalize on that, but that spiritual delusion is it's a real thing, and that's why certain practices should not be undertaken alone, right? Unless you really like spiritual direction for like hesychasm is an important thing. For the Ignatian exercises is an important thing because you can be misled. You can and that opens you up to diabolic influence too, like this story.
Let me ask you. What was I going to say? This is a question for you. Have you read Saint Robert Bellarmine?
I have not read all of his works. I have read his arguments against Palamas, and that's where I was like, and again, it's just my own interpretation, right? So just take that with a heap of salt. But I thought that he misunderstood where Palamas was coming from because, again, Palamas was not a scholastic thinker with these very rigid definitions. I think Bellarmine's a brilliant defender of the faith, but I thought that it was a little misguided, in my opinion, right? Again, like I can look at saints and say, hey, saints can personally err in their theology and the way that they express it. That doesn't make them any less of a saint, right? It's just, I mean, it caused a lot of rough stuff because, again, I think Palamas was deeply misunderstood by the West at the time. So, what about you? Have you read any of his stuff?
I read the Palamas against what's his name? Palamas against who? Barlin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Honestly, some really good questions.
Yeah. You don't do any like call-ins for heretics to come debate?
The one time I tried to do it, so get this, dude. I did a little thing where I was like, hey, if you can come on and make one of us stop being Catholic with like me and four of my buddies, I'll get you a Chick-fil-A sandwich. Like, but no one hopped in. No one really wanted to have the discussion. So
It's all keyboard. It's like I have so many people talking shit on my comment sections. I'm like, all right, I'll open the stream. I'm not gonna yell at you. I'm not gonna kick you. Just come and make your case.
yeah.
Now, if they started screaming and stuff, okay, goodbye. Take care. Akhlai says, do you believe the essence energy distinction and the Latin doctrine of divine simplicity are fundamentally incompatible, or can they be understood as complementary approach? Yes, I believe it is fundamentally incompatible.
I don't, only because even Palamas himself said, hey, he didn't disagree with divine simplicity. And then the idea that there's absolute divine simplicity has yet to be proven from what Thomas Aquinas actually wrote. And again, it's not a creation of parts to say that there's this distinction between the essences and the energies, because they're not making a scholastic distinction. And again, the energies adhere to the essence. So that's not a creation of like another deity, right? To say that his graces can do something and they're still like from his energies or from his essence, right? Because it's just ousia and energeia. It's just what he is, what he does, And so to me, like I think that there's a maximalist view in the Western side where they try to make that at odds, but it's like it's understandable to me. I don't know. I'm just a dummy though. But.
Yeah. I mean, from my reading, it's not really compatible because the Latin sense of absolute, again, there's a distinction between absolute divine simplicity versus divine simplicity. I mean, the church taught divine simplicity, but the Latin sense is pretty much reducing God to pure essence. So that I don't understand. And we living in the modern world, we can. I mean, if you really want, like, we can probably, hypothetically call a council and work that out. But to say it's complementary, but really, whether it is or not, you have to look at the original definition and the people who came up with these doctrines and what they believed in and the spirituality that they pursued, which I think, in my opinion, is at the time different. That's why I'm hesitant, because it's like, and then we also had I host debates, right? And I had this Pentecostal guy come on too, and he told, I had an Orthodox guy go against him, and he's, I'm going to defend PSA. And then when the guy said, well, when the guy presented his position, it wasn't PSA at all. It's just his own made up version of PSA. And then the whole debate just become pointless. Wait, no, that's not the doctrine of PSA. Because if somebody clicks on PSA who believes in PSA, he's not seeing PSA being represented, right? So I think we just got to be truthful to what the people taught at the time of,
Sure, versus like Neo-Thomism or Neo-Palamism, which again, the theology never stayed static either. That's why, like, I guess I'm looking at it from like a classical Palamist view, or versus like the classical Thomistic view. Yeah. Neo-Thomism is like a whole new.
How many people would you say, like, in the modern Catholic Church who actually hold to Thomism?
True Thomist? I mean, I know a lot of LARPers. I don't know anybody that's like a true Thomist. I mean, to be honest with you, like if you read some of what Thomas says, I wouldn't call myself a Thomist either. It's incompatible with what the church teaches, right? There are certain things, and this is why I'm saying, like, hey, saints, it's not an absolute adoption of every saint's like theological whims, because saints can get things wrong. But I think a lot of it, like, again, mostly the Aristotelian perspective, really did become, well, it was dogmatized a trend, right? So for us, it's something to be adhered to, but not everything that Thomas did, right? Which like his idea of like, oh my gosh, the very close to Calvinist idea of the sufficient and efficacious grace was adopted by Calvinism and twisted just enough, like this, just to make it like heterodox, right, or heretical, where the idea that God will like use His will in a positive way to damn someone to hell.
Yeah, Pope defenders, like most evangelicals, make up their own stuff today.
Yeah.
So, this is what makes debating evangelicals and Mormons so difficult. Because you pull 10 off the street, 9 of them will tell you something completely different.
Right.
You know.
Right. And PSA is a whole nother can of worms, dude. That's it's polytheistic at best. Yeah, I have my own gripes with.
And here's the thing, though. If PSA is true in any sort of means, even I heard the modified, stupid versions of it, you have to affirm that God created death.
Yep, that God created death, and that God broke the Trinity, because that requires a breaking in the Trinity to have
the experience of the Trinity. The Cappadocian fathers taught that everything that's experienced through Trinity is triadic.
Right, which means that if it was a truly wrathful experience from the Father to the Son, then and there's a separation, that means the Trinity breaks in that moment, which is impossible. But and then there's also patripassianism, right, where the Son can experience pain in the divine sense. The Father experiences pain because they would all be experiencing pain. It doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't say God created evil. If that's the case, you're a Calvinist. And well,
yep,
you're
and they do believe that He created moral evil, not just natural evil, right? Which the distinction would be like, you know, storms, earthquakes, versus like the creation of sin, which Calvinists will give a being. They will give it ontology. They'll say it's a thing. It's not a privation of something. It is a thing.
Basically, the guy that we had, the guy who tried to make, including Eric Ibarra too. I don't know what the hell he's doing. I mean, Eric Ibarra, he's the guy who's, by the way, leading this. I don't know if you know. He's the guy who's trying to. You don't know Eric Ibarra. This is this Catholic apologist who debated J. Dyer, and he's leading PSA in Catholicism. And I'm like, and he's the one who writes dumb books when trying to make PSA work with Orthodox and Catholic theology. I'm like, dude, what the hell are you doing, dude? And it's so dumb. And it's like nothing about it is PSA, and it's just a bunch of rewording. Then your book is freaking pointless. Like, come on, dude. Okay,
right. GM, why are we syncretizing?
What's to say? What's my favorite? If I really have to say one, probably the 7th. Because I love icons. Has modern Christianity lost the patristic understanding? Well, I mean, here's the thing: without the essence energy distinction, there's no point to have the nous. Because what are you experiencing the energy of God with?
Yeah, and it's just the core, because it's not a rational thing. I think that's the confusion that's happened on the Western side, is that they conflated this rationalistic idea with the core of us, which is why when it mentions heart in the Bible, it's not talking about your physical organ, the heart. It's talking about the core of you, which is the nous. That is the nous. If you don't have that core as image bearers of God, right, which we believe we're all in the Imago Dei, you cannot have that interaction, because remember, we are a pale resemblance and image of God, and that faculty to receive that love and to commune with those graces is something that is natural to us. But again, I feel like a lot of like rational thinkers have lost that. They make it purely like, oh, it's in my brain if I can understand.
Before we answer Protestants, Gia has another question following that. What is the nous? The nous is the Eastern Orthodox doctrine that the human analogy is yes, the human anthropology is body, soul, and intellect. Mm-hmm. That's what I don't know what the Latins believe, but yeah, that's just the Eastern doctrine of it. Pope Defender, I've been studying predestination starting with the writing of St. Augustine, and would say on understanding that denies God loves all men should be problematic. Here's the thing with Augustine, though. There's only one work he wrote that was accepted by the church.
Was
It was
against the
against,
Manichaeans.
yes.
Yeah, that's why he was canonized, not because of the Trinity
Even
or
the
Same God.
Trinitate, even the Trinitate, not not accepted by the church.
Right. Well, what he said something about Jesus that was very problematic too, where he said he was like the pre-created man or something like that, and it was very that. But this is why I'm saying like saints like in themselves don't have like bulletproof theology.
Yeah, they're judged on how they. I mean, look, saints are judged on what they are. And what I mean by that, so a martyr is judged as a martyr. And when they die, they receive the title of a martyr. Okay? A monk is going to be judged in the standard of a monastic. Right? So we're going to call him Holy Father of the Desert, Holy Father of whatever cave, Holy Father of wherever. I mean, and there's a theologian, Saint Gregory the theologian, Saint this the theologian, Saint that the theologian. If they're a theologian, bishop. Yeah, so saints are going to be judged based on what they do in their lives. So it's not everybody. And Augustine is not necessarily a theologian; he was a bishop. So his main job there was to his flock. He could be a theologian, but his main job was to his flock. Right? That's a bishop's job. That's a priest's job. Saint Sophronia is one of my favorite bishops too. But their jobs is to their flock mainly. Now, they can have patristic or theological opinions. That's not what they're going to be judged on. That's the thing. But interestingly, in the case of Augustine, that one work that he did against the Manichaeans was what actually got him canonized. That's what's interesting. Which is pretty incredible, to be honest.
Yes.
He did a great job, with his flock, and he's also a decent theologian. Just to have like an unlaminated icon. I haven't made this yet, but
love that. Oh, that's so cool. So here's another question for both of us.
Person reaches theosis. What is actually changed in a metaphysical way? Nothing. Okay, listen. At the moment of baptism, when there's an ontological change in reality for you, okay, so you are becoming a new human in Christ. At that moment, that's the first change, which opens the door for you to enter salvation. Theosis is a free gift, and it's just you pretty much keeping that grace to grow closer and closer to God. But if you're, a Christian, born in the Spirit and born of water, like Christ taught, you already have that change in you. There's an ontological change at the moment of chrismation and baptism. Okay?
Yep.
Mary's the new Eve, and Christ is the new human, the new man. So you are baptized in him, you will die with him, you will rise with him. At that moment, there's an ontological change. There's no like metaphysical change, on its own.
Right, and that's part of the adoption. That's the divine adoption. That's why we're able to abide in him and he in us. That's why we're able to commune with him, because that is how we partake of the divine nature here. Besides through like communing in hesychasm, you can also it's through communion itself. And that's referred to in the Johannine text as well. And then the culmination of theosis, right, from St. Athanasius, right, God became man so that man might become God. It's that unification in heaven, right? Like that the sharing of the beatific vision of being united to his will. That is that full abiding, and that's why we're able to ask the saints to petition them to pray for us, right? If they were different, if it was not the case and we were not united to Christ, then those prayers would have no avail. And the reality is that that's not the case, because they're more alive than we are, So for me, yeah, I agree with that. Here's another one.
Dispensational.
I think that's for me. No, so he backed out. So yeah, Counterdox. I was going to debate this dispensational Baptist on the intercession of the saints, which actually kind of plays into theosis or.
If you ever need a moderator, let me know. Like I moderate a lot of debates, like all sorts of topics, like different people on my channel. I'm a pretty fair moderator, so let me know.
Oh, dude, thank you. Yeah, no, I will.
Moderate that, and it's on a neutral channel, right? It's like so they shouldn't back out. But the thing with evangelicalism is that, back to the question about you asked about the metaphysical change, the evangelicals are the ones that believe that there is a metaphysical change because they believe their souls are already, quote, predestined for heaven. Actually, to even say that, it's even a gift. I mean, it's even too much for them, right? They don't believe in any sort of ontological or metaphysical change. They just believe that they're selected for heaven. I mean, metaphysical just means anything at this point spiritual, I guess. But again, it happens at the moment that you decide to become a Christian. Chrismation, baptism, there's that ontological change in you. You were created with Christ as a new man. I've asked Hammer about this, but what's your take, Counterdox? Would the incarnation have happened if humanity had never sinned? No. I don't think so.
Why not?
Well, I mean, my understanding of incarnation is to redeem humanity. I mean, if humanity have never sinned, then I don't know what the point of incarnation. I could be wrong, but I don't know what the point of incarnation would be. Maybe to just for the sake, just to elevate. But it would absolutely have happened in a way different way than we'll ever imagine.
Oh yeah, no, that I can agree with. I'm actually on the opposite side where I say it would happen, but not as a redemption, but as a like to be in closer relationship with us. Which the relationship was already perfect, but just to still be there. You know, he's already walking with them in the garden in a metaphysical sense, right, or metaphorical sense. But like actually being there, I do think it would happen. But again, that's not part of the plan, so it's just a post hoc what if. And then I saw this one. Who said what was the bad thing? I didn't hear anything bad. Who?
Something bad about Mary? The pastor? Probably.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you said anything bad about Mary. That you called her the new Eve, which is true. That's what she is. Yeah, I don't know.
And I'm just surprised how many people, especially Catholics, don't understand that analogy.
I mean, it logically follows in Romans, right, where it says just through one man's disobedience, all men fell. Through one man's obedience, which is why we see that in the garden. The dispensationalist guy said it. Okay, Mary's in hell with Judas. Well, I mean, to be fair, the guy's a troll, so he doesn't know what he's talking about.
No, so is his mother. So.
Yeah.
Oh no, so the analogy is actually deeper than that. If you look at John's gospel, it's laid out like the creation, right?
Yep.
So on the seventh day, what happened? On the seventh day was the wedding at Cana, and they ran out of wine. So Mary went to Jesus, and he knew she knew he can do something about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what did he ask Jesus? He asked Jesus to help her, and what did Jesus say to Mary? He said he didn't call her mother, and people and these Protestants, well, see, he's not even respecting her. Yep. He said, "Woman, what is this between you and me?" And people know, like, see, if you're evangelical, you read that verse, you don't know what he's talking about. There's no way you know what he's talking about. Now, what was the first thing? So if you look at what, okay, during the first creation, Adam and Eve, right? So Eve was taken from the side of Adam while he was asleep. And if you read, and this is, by the way, universal Jewish opinion from back then to now, what he said to Eve when he first saw Eve was a poem, was the first poem of humanity, right? He said, "My bone and my flesh, admiring how beautiful she is." Okay? Now, he said, "Woman." He said, "Woman" to her, right? Now, what did Christ say here? Christ said, "Woman, what is this between you and me?" So this is clear that, this is not written there just to be written there, right? He called her woman is because he's establishing that relationship between men and women. He's establishing that new relationship. And what happened in the old creation? Eve decided to be disobedient, and men fall with Eve, right? But in the new creation, also why Jesus said that is like, are you sure you want me to begin this? Right? That's what he's saying. Are you sure you want me to begin this right now? Because you're going to lose your son, right? So
Right.
he asked the Virgin Mary, "Are you sure you want me to do this?" And the Virgin Mary said, he told people to do what? To do as he says.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The old Eve, what does she do? She disobeyed God. The new
Yep.
Eve obeyed God.
Yep.
Okay. That's why she's the new Eve. And from that point, and Jesus began his ministry. And on the cross, there was John and Mary. What did he say? Behold, women, your son.
Yep.
Okay. Eve gives birth to the new men, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the moment of crucifixion. And told John, behold, that's your mother. The church's mother is Mary. That's why she's new. I'm surprised how many people can't, give that patristic understanding of it.
Right, and even like at the Annunciation, right, where Gabriel said, "Hey, this is going to happen to you," and she said, "Be it done unto me according to thy word." That is part of that submission, right? And you can see that same thing with Christ in Gethsemane. Your will, not mine, be done. Right? It's that subordination, it's that submission that's very important, right?
Yeah,
The opposite of what Adam and Eve were. Yeah.
these evangelicals, they just think it's a story.
Oh,
They think it's like a just story. But like Acolyte just texted here. Our last words of Our Lady said in Scripture: "Do whatever He tells you to do."
Yep.
Now that's not just saying, "Well, He's the boss, bro." Just no. He's saying that's God. Be obedient. That's what He's saying to the new men, the people who are following Christ. That's what He's saying. How do Eastern Orthodox deal with post Second Temple Judaism? I mean, they're heretics. So
They're not really. Yeah, they're not.
I mean, there's the same thing how everybody dealt with them. So yeah, we call her Genesis 3:15. Yeah.
Yep. Where she'll put enmity against the woman, and then she'll crush. He'll strike her heel, and she'll bruise his head with her heel. Yeah. All right, brother. We're getting close to time, so I was gonna say thank you for coming. And did you have any other like parting words for the audience?
No, man. Again, if you need a debate, just let me know. I'm happy to moderate that anytime. Thanks for inviting me.
No, thanks for taking the time, brother. I know it was like early too, and but hey, if you want, I'd be so down to get like an icon from you, or even like go to a liturgy.
You can have this one. You want this?
I mean, I can't say no to that. Like, yeah, no. We'll plan something. You got my email.
I got a lot of material here. I can just make one for you, and just email me, and I can not. I mean, this is just. I have this one ready as a gift.
That's beautiful.
And the sun. I can make any saint pretty much.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. No, the two that if I'll email you, but like the two that I really like are Nectarios of Aegina or Palamas. I love Saint Nectarios.
I actually just ordered a Palamas icon from this heretic guy. So this monk, he's a schismatic, but he actually painted St. Andrews.
Get out.
Yeah. So probably one of the most incredible iconographers alive in the United States. Wow. So, well, I told him that you might know who this is. You can look it up, but his patron saint is St. Gregory Palamas. So I commissioned him to paint that icon for me, so I can pray for him to repent.
Hey, you know what? It's a good transaction. You get it.
I can do Gregory Palamas. Just let me know, dude. I'm happy to do it. I'm bored on the weekends, anyways.
Damn,
thanks, guys, for tuning in. Thank you, guys. Acolyte.
Oh yeah, and Acolyte said we do have a podcast, me and a couple of the guys. So if you ever want to come on, we can plan it out. It'd be great to have you.
Yeah, sure. For now, I'm on a really terrible schedule for the next 2 months. For the next month, one more month, and I'll be free during the day. And weekends I'm usually free. To answer you, Gia,
yeah.
What's the best patriarchy? I mean, no one's the best because everybody's sinners, right? especially when you're clergy. You're the Christ says to be the first, you have to be the last.
Yep.
Who takes the communion last in the liturgy? Who leaves the church last? All the clergy.
The priest.
Okay,
Yeah.
the priests, bishops, deacons. So we're all the worst sinners. The more higher you go, the worse the sinner you become.
Yeah.
So no one's the best.
Amen.
Yeah. All right. Well, God bless you guys. You guys have a great Saturday.
Take care, guys.
Take care.